About 1.2 children are stunted in Nigeria. Nigeria ranks 1 in Africa and 2 in the world in terms of malnourished children. Good evening. Welcome to Sound Health on Lagos Television. I am Olasunbo Modupe. Today we'll look at stunted growth in children. Stay tuned. The program continues in a moment.
New data from the World Health Organization reveals that nearly 1/3 of adults are not active enough. That's 1.8 billion people missing out on the many physical and mental health benefits regular physical activity offers. Globally, women are less likely to be active than men. In some countries, this difference reaches 20 percentage points, highlighting a significant gender gap. Although physical activity is key for healthy aging, inactivity rises sharply after the age of 60 for people almost everywhere. By 2030, it is estimated that global levels of inactivity could rise to 35%. These new findings are a wake-up call. This WHO report has a clear message. We need to get moving to help more people be more active. This will require governments and stakeholders across sectors to partner to implement policies and programs, particularly to engage more women and older adults, to provide more support for innovation and local solutions, and to better align resources with policy commitments. Whether it's walking, cycling, dancing, or playing sports, regular physical activity is good for everyone. Let's all work together to get the world moving.
The program is still Sound Health on Lagos Television. Joining us via Zoom this evening is Professor Kola Anigo, National Coordinator, Academic and Research Network, Scaling Up Nutrition in Nigeria, and he is going to tell us what is stunting. Good evening, Professor Anigo, and thanks for joining us.
Good evening, ma.
According to the World Health Organization, about 25 million people in 26 states do not know where their next meal will come from. Tell us, what is the implication of this on our health and on our economies?
Thank you very much. Well, the issue of food intake is very important. And throughout the life course, this human body requires nutrients, and the nutrient comes from food. And this food we are talking about is not just eating, but there's also the aspect of what we call dietary diversity. That there are food groups, and these food groups provide those groups of nutrients. And even when we eat, we must ensure that we consume from those food groups so that we can be able to meet our adequate requirement. Now, for a child, when an assessment is done on the issue of when nutritional assessment is done, you find out that when you get into a household and there's malnutrition there, the immediate cause of that malnutrition is inadequate food intake and also the issue of infection. So that is the immediate cause of what you are seeing. But that immediate cause you are seeing, there are some things that are also underlining that immediate cause. The issue of food security and the issue of the healthcare system, access to good healthcare system. And the basic cause that led to this underlying cause is the issue of the political structure, the economic structure, and the rest of them, the issue of education. You go to some of our communities and you realize that some of the caregivers, over 80% of them may not even be able to read nor write. So even if the writing is around them, you find out that to be able to, the way they even prepare the food itself, the way the food is also distributed, there's what we call intra-household distribution. You find out that we have some cultural practices of saying that children, for them to love each other, they should eat in the same plate. But you find out that the youngest one will always cry at the end of that eating because the youngest one must have felt cheated for not getting enough to eat. And that's why we start crying. All those things have effect. So the issue of food intake is very, very paramount. So we talk of food security, that is to have for the food to be available, to have access to the food, the way the food is distributed, and also the nutrient that is actually derived from the food itself. The issue of stability, that every time we also get that food, they are also very critical. After food security, the next thing is nutrition security. The food may be there, it may contain the adequate nutrient, but the issue of the environment in which the food is prepared is another thing on its own. So all those things contribute significantly to the problem. So when there is food insecurity, there is serious danger for the issue of malnutrition.
All right.
And when malnutrition is there is a lot of effect that it has, as we just discussed on the issue of breastfeeding.
All right. I'm glad you mentioned malnutrition. Malnutrition is in 3 phases according to the World Health Organization. We have stunting, we have wasting, and obesity. Unfortunately, most people do not regard obesity as a sign of malnutrition. Tell us, what exactly is stunting or stunted growth? That is our focus this week. How do you know a child is stunted?
Yes, stunting is as a child grows, there is an expected height for the age of the child. And it has been, a lot of research has been done on that. They have a standard by which, a reference standard, by which when you measure the height of a child with the age, we relate it to these reference tables and look at it whether the height of that child is matching up with what is expected for the age. So when the height is not matching up with what is expected for the age of that child, then we say that child is stunted. So stunting is when a child is shorter than the age. That is stunting. And stunting has a lot of serious effect. And one of the main effects is that when a child is stunted, the chance is there that the brain development and cognitive development will be compromised. And when this stunting takes place, if something is not done within a particular space of time, whatever damage that must have been done to the child, the damaging effect to the child's brain development, cognitive development becomes irreversible. That child may even grow up and look like a normal adult. But damage that has been done is what you cannot repair.
Okay, before we look at further implications, medical implications now, do we experience stunting in adults too, or is it just a childhood condition?
Yeah, like I mentioned, that if a child is stunted, is that same child that grows to adult age. And I mentioned that the most critical point, because at the adult age you are no more really growing, you are only maintaining the stature. So the most critical point, that is why even intervention now is targeted at what we call the first 1,000 days of life. That is from conception to the age of 24 months. That is 2 years. We call it the first window. Is one of the most critical points in a person's development. Because during this period, if the nutrient required and the right environment is not provided, and that child becomes stunted, that damage that has been done to the number of brain cells that need to be developed it becomes irreversible. And that child, like I mentioned, the person will grow up and look like a normal adult. What you see, like in mothers, we say the mother will be too thin. We look at thinness in mothers. That is undernutrition. And such have effect not only on her head, but also on the head of the fetus, the baby that the mother is also carrying. And you mentioned the issue of some people thinking that overweight is not a problem. Obesity is not a problem. It's a problem. And one of the main reasons why you realize there's this problem of non-communicable diseases is getting higher, like cardiovascular disease, the issue of diabetes, the issue of hypertension, the issue of cancer, the issue of overweight and obesity contribute significantly to the problem. We know in some of the societies, people look at you when you are very fat. They look at the person that is enjoying, not knowing that it's a problem. And the worst of it is the fact that it also leads to some problem we call micronutrient deficiency. This micronutrient deficiency has some nutrients that are required in very small amount. So even when you have eaten, you will think you are full, not knowing that the body is also still asking for some nutrient, which the body is lacking from the person's food or diet. And so it's a problem.
All right, I'm glad you have enlightened us, because oftentimes we hear people say she got this stature from her mom, she got this stature from her dad. Apparently, it is not genetics now, it is all about nutrition. So how do we achieve not just food security and nutrition security now? Because if we look at the economy, we are experiencing inflation in all spheres, more than 100%. So how do we ensure we get nutrition out of the little we have on our tables?
Thank you very much. I know, I know Lagos from the news. Lagos is doing a lot. Lagos state government is doing a lot. The issue of having food bank, food distribution point, and also lowering the prices of commodities for especially food, have special market for the citizen, which they can go and buy food at a subsidized rate. These are some of the measures that government need to be in the forefront in doing. Like the government also on the issue of food import in the short term, to make sure that they bring down the prices of food so that it can people can have more access. And we also there is this food system transformation pathway, because there was dialogue recently some years ago to be able to transform our food system, because the United Nations also come out and realize that there is no way we can be able to achieve food security, food and nutrition security, without transforming our food system. And when we are talking of food system, it's not just the issue of agriculture to produce food. It starts from the point of even the inputs to the practices itself, up to production, the issue of harvest, the issue of processing. Do you know that Nigeria, then we have post-harvest losses of up to almost 50% of what is produced are lost due to lack of good, adequate post-harvest processing and preservation. So in the food system transformation pathway, one of the short routes of what we are supposed to do is what they call Operation Feed Yourself. And I was happy recently that the president's wife was also demonstrating to us Nigerians to have home garden. There are some basic things we can also plant at homes that we know within a short time we can be able to reap from it to complement the diversity of the kind of food we eat. These are some of the basic some things that can be done. And again, the government also need to encourage the private sector. The private sector are very critical and are great partners to complement what government is doing. There are many things that the private sector can do. Like one of the transformation pathways is the issue of establishment of farm estate, which in the southwest, Awolowo started it, and it's even good now that Oyo State have taken over some of those farms, and a lot of effort is going on. And I also know that your state, Lagos State, is collaborating with other states to increase production, to provide funding for those states like Ebi, so that they can be able to produce more food and bring it to Lagos. So that these are some of there are a lot of things that we can do. And even the situation we are facing as a country, unless we increase production, there is no way as a country the trend that we are seeing can change. So as a country, not just government, every one of us must think about Nigeria and how we can be able to produce things locally, not depending on foreign items and even food. And most of our people are even subsistence farmers. It's just to support them and ensure that the support that government is giving actually get to the real farmers, not portfolio farmers, not people that don't have farm, but they use connection to government to get all those facility and use it for something else.
All right.
Thank you.
Sadly, Professor Anigo, you pointed out that stunting cannot be reversed. Can it be managed?
No, like I mentioned that the moment we discover that there is stunting, if the right thing is done, the child should not even be stunted in the first place. But I said, if within a particular window, that the first 1,000 days of life, that is from conception to the age of 24 months, that is 2 years. That if we even notice anything like that, we quickly make sure that we do something about it. At those points, you may be able to reverse some of the things. But the moment the child grows and passes the age of 3.5 years, whatever damage that has been done is irreversible. And that is why government needs to focus on those areas. That 1,000 days of the life of a child is very, very critical. And so, irrespective of the socioeconomic status of the caregiver, the government must ensure that they have access to adequate food, that food is available, there is accessibility to that food, and also the distribution itself and the stability is very, 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 very important. They said prevention is better than cure.
Prevention, they say, is better than cure. You need to ensure that children are not experiencing any form of malnutrition, whether stunting, wasting, or obesity. Professor Kola Anigo, National Coordinator, Academic and Research Network, Scaling Up Nutrition Nigeria, thank you so much for your time and expertise on stunting in children.
Thank you very much.
Sound Health continues with trending health report from around the world. Please stay tuned. program has been Sound Health on Lagos Television. Stunted children today will lead to stunted economies. Ensure meals are prepared intentionally. Ensure they are nutrition secured. Protect your children against all forms of malnutrition, be it stunting, wasting, or obesity. For comments and inquiries, or you have topics you'd like us to treat, please send SMS to 0035826603 or follow us on social media at Lagos Television #Sound Health. A sound health is a sound mind. Make healthy living your choice.